Welcome to Unscripted Gaming. My name is Josh, joined by my illustrious co-host Ray. Ray, how you doing?
Oh, very well. Very
Um,
well.
Mike is not going to be with us today. He has some fatherly duties to attend to. So while he was making sure to pick up my slack while I was gone, moving house, as some might say, I'm here, back to do some
A-
recording with y'all.
As some might say, I want to know what the other people call it besides, like, just moving house.
Well, I mean, at least here in the U.S., most of the time we're gonna just say we're moving or we are moving
Okay.
to a new house. You know, the folks across the pond, they either add an extra word or forget an extra word depending on your view of it. But
hmm
I just like the phrase "moving house." It just I don't know why that speaks to me.
Okay, all right. Well, it's true. I've been to your old house a couple times. I'm excited to go to your new place, but yeah, when you're moving house, you're taking pretty much everything you own of that place unless you're willing to convey it in the house selling, and that's all coming with us. And yeah, that I've done this several times myself. That process just kind of sucks, and it just takes a long time.
Yeah. See, I've had the benefit of basically living within a call it 15-mile radius, 20-mile radius my entire life. So none of my moves have ever been that crazy. I literally moved 5 minutes from my old house to my new house. You, on the other hand, have done slightly more logistically challenging moves, and I thought just moving 5 minutes away
Was
was
it really only 5 minutes?
maybe six.
Are you serious? The new place is only 6 minutes away?
Yes, yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I
It is.
thought.
It is not far. Now the logistics of said move, because we
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
did a
Because it's a house.
yeah, it's a
Still.
house, and it was a bifurcated move. It wasn't like we moved out one day, we had to stay somewhere for a week, we moved into the next house on a
hmm
different day, like multiple days later. So obviously that was crazy, but still,
Yeah,
it's still not like moving across country
a couple
multiple
times.
times.
Yeah, I've for people that have been fans of the podcast for a while, and I guess geez, since we've been doing this since 2014. Let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Uh, I have lived but besides, dropping the egg here in the Midwest, somewhere in the Midwest. I don't want to blow up Josh's spot too much, but I've lived used to be next door to you at one point before I
Yes.
moved to Florida. Yeah, like literally next door,
Yep.
several times in our lives. Um, and then I moved to Florida, and then I moved. Okay, so that's halfway across the country one way. Then moved to California. That's literally coast to coast. Then California to Austin, which is another section of the country. Now Austin to the Chicagoland area, which yes, it's a lot.
Yep. And I think
there,
three of those moves have happened while you have been recording this podcast with me. I think we started while you were in California, then you moved to
yes,
Austin, then you moved to
yes,
the Chicagoland area. So
yes. We've been doing this podcast for almost a little over 6 years. So about to oh no 7. It's been a full 7 years. Yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah, and yeah, there have been 3 full house moves for me. Granted, 2 of those moves were paid for by the company that I worked for, so it wasn't that bad when you pay someone to just do it all for you. But it's still a headache. It's not as much. I don't the headache of like even 5 minutes is still a house. It's still all of your stuff, all of the logistics of getting the house moved. Then, in your case, selling the house, buying the new house. That's a whole thing,
Yep.
ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, especially like you just accumulate stuff. It's terrible, but we as Americans and as consumers tend to accumulate a lot of stuff, especially one with a couple kids. you
hmm
just you just gather stuff and you hold on to things for a while because you're like, maybe I'll need it, and then you get to that moving, you're like, I'm never going to use this again in my life, and you're like,
Oh
okay, well,
yeah.
I'm gonna try and sell it on Facebook or something, and nobody sells it, and you're like, okay, I can't move this to a new house. I rented a trailer to take out, you know, furniture we didn't need, junk and stuff like that. I threw away
hmm
almost 1,000 pounds of just stuff, and that was just things we got
Wow.
rid of.
Well, to be fair, your wife does like to please don't hurt me, ma'am. Please, she does like to keep a lot of things around. Things that I know you didn't pick. Like, nah.
Woo! I
I know
hope.
that's not Josh's.
All right, there are some friends who listen to this podcast who know my wife, and I'm gonna please ask you not to draw her attention to this episode because she will yell at both Ray and I. So, um,
Oh, oh, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.
but you're not wrong, Matt. I'm talking to you specifically.
Let's talk about before we get in trouble with our significant others. Let's talk about video games real quick.
Video games. What are those?
Yeah. Uh-oh. Why is the dog barking?
Uh-oh.
Oh no, I know why. Well, hold on. I'm gonna close the door. Speaking of significant others, one just came home from work, so that's why.
There you go.
So let's talk about Battlefield. I want to get this out of the way.
Oh,
Josh,
buddy.
you actually have a copy of Battlefield 2042, right?
I do have a copy of Battlefield 2042 because there was some promotion early in the fall, I believe, where they were selling a M.2 Gen 4 SSD. It was about, I think, there were a couple different sizes. I bought a terabyte, but basically, it was a pretty good price on it, and it included a copy of Battlefield 2042. I think I have a heat spreader on it so you can't see it, but it's actually like Battlefield 2042 branded and everything. So, bought that SSD to, part of the upgrade process and got a copy with it. And I have played it a little bit. And yeah, it's not that good. It's now I will say I have not played a ton. Just a handful of hours, maybe half a dozen to a dozen at most. I have not encountered any of the major like game-breaking glitches or anything that I was obviously aware of. It's not to say that it didn't happen because those are massive games and who knows what's going on with 128 players. But personally speaking, I never fell through anything in a vehicle or did anything wacky like that. I just played the main control mode or whatever it's called and just had a very mediocre time.
Mediocre time, huh?
Yeah, and if you have any
it.
questions, like I'll kind of talk through my feelings of it, and part of the reason why I think I had a mediocre time is that there were no friends playing with me, and I think Battlefield specifically, it's a really good game, but you have to be in tune with your squad, especially at this player count with 128 players and so many things going on and so many more objectives and so many more vehicles. To be in a squad with people you don't know and no communication with unless you're in like a general chat or something like that, it's just not, you don't know what you're doing. You don't really know what's going on. There isn't a lot of, at least that I've seen, of like, the squad leader pointing out things other than like, attack that objective. It's not like, okay, we're going to go get this vehicle. We're going to go around. We're going to do, like, you can't really coordinate that like you would if you're in Discord, you're in TeamSpeak, you're in Xbox Live chat with 3 of your friends and going in and doing wacky things and trying to be a part of that process. I also think that given the player count, there needs to be some sort of, and I forget which Battlefield did this, but there needs to be some sort of centralized command for the entire team. Like, somebody needs to have some level of input on, hey, we all need to focus on this, or like your 3 squads need to focus.
Commander role.
Yes. I think that
the last Battlefield game to have that was Battlefield 4.
Yes, and I think at 128 players with the expanded map size and whatnot, like, you have to have some sort of direction other than just like play the objective and get more spots than everybody else. Like, it's too big to work.
So, Josh, before I get started on my rant about Battlefield 2042, remember the game Mag? The game that boasted it was 128 on 128 on PS3?
as a Zipper Interactive SOCOM fan, I'm very aware of Mag. I did not own a PS3, but I do. When we lived at one of the points in our life where we lived next door, I did come over to your apartment a few times and play it.
Yes, yes, I remember
So I
that. Yeah.
do I do recall Mag. It was a lofty goal and way ahead of its time.
Way, way ahead of its time. That came out in like I want to say 2009,
It would have been
2000.
oh
No,
eight oh
no,
nine.
2008. Yeah,
Yeah.
it came out in 2008. And here we are in 2021. We were like, yeah, let's bring it up to 64 on 64. And let me tell you the problem with Mag. The on paper idea sounds glorious. Like, putting candy on pizza. until until you actually do it, and you're like, wait a minute, this might actually be a really bad idea. For those of you that didn't play Mag, which shock and awe probably is not a lot of you, when you actually have a map where it's 128 people versus 128 other people, it is not a cohesive battle. One, you have to have that many people online that time on one server, and not as common as you think, especially for a system like the PlayStation 3 when it first came out. Basically, I only played the 128 on 128 mode like twice ever, and then by the time I took like a 1 week break because I went on like vacation, I came back to it. Nah, nah, that ain't happening anymore. The numbers start scaling down, and they didn't have bots to replace it. So Battlefield tries the same thing, and it will go ahead and it has a smart idea to start filling the gaps with bots, but it's 64 and 64. Um, yeah, so watching a lot of gameplay videos, I've only played the Battlefield 2042 technical test. And when I played the technical test, because I was fortunate enough to get in, I said, okay, I see what they're going for here, but this is rough. I didn't do any recordings. I didn't want to break their NDA they had me sign, but there were some rough spots. I will say during the technical test, there were points where you spawned on ships, and I can't help but notice they got rid of that feature in the release game for the better because never did spawning on ships ever work. It just didn't work, and there was nothing that was gonna make that any better. Also, I think the best words I can give Battlefield 2042, because there's endless amounts of gameplay footage on it, was Dice was caught between a rock and a hard place. I don't know what was going on there, but there is a patch that I will link into the show notes, and this patch is if you're scrolling and you were to put this on Microsoft Word, it is 10 pages long of things that they're saying, okay, we hear your complaints. This patch is coming out in the first 2 weeks. Here's what we're gonna fix in the first patch. It is 10 pages of things. Some of them are really bad. One of them is, and I sent this to Josh and Mike, when you fire off flares from your plane, the missile that it was supposed to distract becomes more accurate and just hits your plane faster. That would make me crack my keyboard in two if I actually watched that happen. Oh, and I can't watch that happen. There's no kill cams. There's no friend system. There's no scoreboard. When you hit the tab key, like you've been doing in every Battlefield game, there is no score of like how many kills do you have, how many deaths do you have, how many assists do you have. No, you find that out at the end of the game, and you only find it out for you. You can't find it out for your allies or your enemies. Is that a toxicity thing? Because I'm anti-toxicity in games, but that is a bridge too far. I want to be on the record saying that. They had a specific piece of like they had an aim down sight thing where if you moved just a little bit, you walked a little bit, you had a penalty to where your cursor was actually aiming because you're moving. Um, Everyone agrees that penalty was too high, even Dice, because you would put the cursor right on the target and you would not hit that target. If you don't believe me, there are plenty of video game pieces of footage where it. I dare say this might be the most unplayable Battlefield game on release that has ever launched, and I was there at the beginning of Battlefield 4 with an AMD card. For those of you that remember, back in October 2013, If you had an AMD card in your PC and you turned on Battlefield 4, it was a mess. This is worse. And also some of the glitches are hilarious. Well, not glitches, just bugs. Some of these are just like, yes, I guarantee cash money. Your QA reported this, and you didn't have time to fix it at all, so you just put it on the disc. Hovercrafts became the best vehicle in the game because you can scale buildings at 90-degree angles, and they accidentally left in, this has to be a bug, to where the front windshield of the hovercraft was indestructible. So you look down on a skyscraper and you see dun 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 dun, dun just three hovercrafts speeding towards you like bats out of hell. And you're unloading your magazine jaw, show them everything you got. Just like in Starship Troopers. Go on, give it everything you got towards hovercrafts. And there's nothing you can do. They're shaking it off, and they scale the building. There are videos you can find online. Do a quick YouTube search of people sailing the hovercraft above a skyscraper and slamming it into the helicopter, and the helicopter dying. But the hovercraft's still going on. It is the most dangerous weapon in the game until they patched and fixed it. I can't imagine that sort of shit. Just massive issues with this game. To the point. Okay, I'm gonna stop ranting. I'll post the patch. I'll post a list of fixes with the patch notes. There's, not kidding, like 10 pages of it. They are, I guess the lead director just the other day got fired, and they're bringing in Vince Impella, who is the CEO of Respawn Entertainment. So he's a busy man.
Yeah, they're bringing in the big, like...
They're bringing in the guy that's in charge of Apex Legends and the new Star Wars game that's coming out, and whatever else Respawn is working on. Maybe it's Titanfall 3. I hope it's Titanfall 3. Who knows? And now the EA's just like, yeah, you know what? You're in charge of Battlefield, the entire franchise. Not just 2042, Battlefield going forward. We're putting you in charge of that. Which, yeah, maybe that's what's needed to happen.
Yeah, here's my, wonder and concern for Battlefield 2042. It's like, how much damage have they done to this? Because it's not like a Rainbow Six Siege where the game is bad, they take some time to work on it, and then they kind of fix it, and it becomes a staple. Like, even though they tend to put a little more time between Battlefield games, it's still an annualized product. It is still something that you're gonna come out every year, every 2 years, every 3 years. So it's like, okay, how many people are going to or have dropped off from this, and despite no matter what changes that they make and improvements that they make, never pick it up again and just say, I'm going to come back to, I'll come back in 2043.
Ooh. I do have numbers for you in that. Battlefield 2042 for a week solid. And this is, my heart goes out to the people that actually were legitimately working hard on this game, because I know there are a lot. It actually was number 8 in the top 10 worst games on Steam for a week straight. Ooh. And there's I'm not going to say that was undeserved, because in the state that it launched in, a message needed to be sent in some way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, for the hard numbers of how many people dropped off, they lost 60% of their player base after the first 2 weeks. That was from...
Honestly, I'm surprised it's not higher. I'll be honest.
There are the people that bought... Okay, so take it this way. You get your gift that you got for, like, Black Friday, and you're like, this might be my game. I got my $60. I'm going to buy this game. You buy Battlefield, and you're like, I'm going to keep playing it until they make it better. They have to make it better.
I've heard that, and I haven't played it yet, but I heard, like, the Portal mode, which is, like, supposed to be just kind of like this extra, like, a little fun, like, play some back. Like, that's legitimately fun compared to, like, the main game mode. So, like, I might hop back in and play a little of that and just see what's going on there. But yeah, I don't see myself jumping back into the main Battlefield. Like, like especially being somebody who's playing solo, it's not like the whole squad hasn't. We're like, okay, well, let's try and get in and see what's going on with the patches and whatnot. Like, it's just I have no reason to go back in. There's too much wrong with it, and
We were excited about it. Like when they showed off that trailer at E3, me and our whole friend group, we all saw that. We saw the Renzuka, we saw the tornadoes ripping apart the city. We were like, there it is. That's the game we're all gonna hop online, squad up, and play when we all get some downtime at like 8 or 9 p.m. And then the reviews started coming out, and we're like, oh, never mind.
yeah, I
And you're the only one in our friend group of like what 9 people that actually has the
yep,
game.
yep,
That's it. And that's
and
gotta tell you something. Anyone that's working on the game, we are the target audience, literally.
the Battlefield 3 is probably my second or third highest game in terms of played hours ever. So like I'm a big Battlefield fan. Mike and I, when we used to run around in the Abrams together in Battlefield 3, we would fuck shit up. We had that down pat. But I just and I obviously the game that has shipped is so much different than like what they had shown in that trailer and their original vision. And
Yeah.
I, I think they should have like they delayed the game what a month and a half. Like they should have delayed it a year and a half.
That's the ongoing theory that there definitely was like they obviously did it to hit their quarter 4 goals.
Yep.
That's what EA is, a big publicly traded company. You can see it obviously, but at what cost? And they must have known, right? You can't play that game and you're like, everything's gonna be okay. It's like, no, you knew, you absolutely knew.
Well, and
And you
that just also
hoped.
goes to the short termism of being a publicly traded company and investors. It's like we've sunk all this money. We have these income targets for X amount of time, but it's like you also have this property that you invested all this money and time into, expecting it to have a long tail and to continue generating revenue over time. But like the I would imagine that the whatever models that they have for any DLC and extra content and in-game purchases is going to be absolutely shot. Like this thing is not going to continue generating revenue for them in any way, shape, or form like they had originally thought. So, and I think with COVID, you have the perfect excuse to say like, look, we're going to miss this holiday window. Maybe we'll hit the summer window, but like you just need to take the time to make the game you want to make because I cannot
or scale it back.
Yeah. Say we're going down to 64 players,
I think that might have been the smartest decision because they clearly didn't have the server resources for this sort of game. That sucks, but it is what it is.
Also, they made the maps too big. Like even for 128 players, those maps are way too big.
They're bigger than the maps in Mag, and the maps in Mag were meant for 256 people. But when you're fighting 120, when you're fighting 64 and 64, it doesn't feel that way unless you see vehicles. I think my favorite story when I told you guys was when I was in the technical test, and I started capping point B, and you see in Battlefield fashion, the little thing starts ticking down. 4 helicopters swarm over me, and there's building. I'm just hiding in the corner because there's building destruction, and you're just like, I'm in hell because the helicopters are raining hellfire, literally, all around you. And that's not fun after a certain point, and you have no answer for that. Which, speaking of which, the helicopters are still broken in this game. There's no real answer to when someone's in a helicopter. You can get a jet, cool, the helicopter has countermeasures, which once they fix those countermeasures, are gonna be unstoppable. Right now, they just make it so the missile just zooms in harder on you.
Flares! Whew!
Gosh, that is my favorite patch bug ever, I think. I think possibly ever. To the point of games that launched poorly and should have had an extra year in development. Josh, you know what game did have an extra year in development?
Halo Infinite
Halo Infinite, yes,
part
it
of it
did.
at least. some of
No, the
it,
whole thing had the
some
whole
of it
thing had a
still
whole
has
year.
an extra 6 months to go.
Oh! You're talking about the single player?
Yeah, they took some extra time and then some extra time.
Oh yeah. So they surprise released the multiplayer on the actual 20th anniversary of Xbox launching, which was very cool. I've played it, you've played it, we've had people in our friend group play. That's actually the game that we've gravitated towards as opposed to Battlefield. And yeah, 343 Industries, they took an extra year. Um they got rid of Craig. He now looks like a threatening brute. Goodbye, Craig. You will be missed. And it
Force them
is
out.
good. Fuck, it is so good. I've already dumped in 15 hours to it. It's been my login. I got an extra hour, play the game, have some fun, and then I'm done. Because I'm getting in there. The Warthog feels good. The battle rifles feel good. The assault rifle feels good. The pistol feels good. The multiplayer aspect of it, it just all feels like good, classic, upscaled Halo. And it works on like many machines. Even one of our friend who has a little bit of a weaker machine, even he's able to run it, and he was playing battles with us. So it's great. If anyone, and it's free to play. What more can you ask for? I think the biggest negative that Halo Infinite is getting lately is that their free to play progression system for when you buy the battle pass is ass. But I have two retorts to that, Josh. Only two. One, it's free to play and I don't care. Uh And two, they're 100% cosmetic. I still don't care. Like I know. The cosmetic options mean a lot to people. If you make what was the name of that that woman in Overwatch that is Native American, I do believe, or First
Farah.
Nations, what have you? Farah. They
She's
have a skin that
Egyptian.
makes they have a skin that makes Farah look like Samus, and I'm like, oh no, she looks like a Gundam. And I was like, well, I gotta get the Gundam skin. I don't know how much is that gonna cost. And they're like, well, you can't get it. You have to spend money on loot boxes. I never did, but I did eventually get that skin, and that was unfortunately right around the time I stopped playing Overwatch. I get it though. Customization makes your character yours. It makes you feel good. You like to see that model. For Halo,
They also
it never
made a
mattered to
big
me.
deal. I get what you're saying too, and I kind of agree. It's like there are times where it's like, okay, yeah, that Farah skin. I'm like, yeah, buddy, let's go.
The Gundam one is really strong
It's
looking.
really good. But it's other times it's like, when you say in your press releases and in your interviews about this product coming up, about how this aspect of the game is going to be such a big focus, and the way you show your identity and your individuality, and like all these little customizations and tweaks, and how available it will be to everyone, and then it's like, no, not any of that. I understand
Yeah.
the frustration. I don't feel the same way, but I get where people are
Yeah.
coming from. Um, but I also think that, just like Dice is, not as much of like, oh my god, this thing's on fire and we have to do something about it. But like, Microsoft and 343 have been like, okay, we hear you, we understand what you're saying. We are going to make these changes to kind of make this a more fair and equal and situation, and be more like what we had originally talked about.
I respect that. That's what I could say. I respect that sort of complaint of like I wanted to get in and I wanted that Spartan to be mine because I don't want to look like all the other Spartans. You guys promised something. I have to pay an extra 20 bucks. Okay, I want to bitch about the microtransaction system in Halo Infinite. I have to.
Do it.
I have to. Okay, first of all, Battlefield 2042 doesn't actually have a microtransaction system yet. It might be coming, but maybe even they realize we can't do this. We can't, not yet. No. Like if you go to the microtransaction store in Battlefield 2042, it's actually blank. So, credit to them for realizing that that was the bridge too far, I guess, in the state of the game. But Halo Infinite is let's say you want to buy the premium battle pass for Halo Infinite. It is $28. Now, You can't just buy the battle pass. No, shut up. How dare you? You have to buy what I colloquially call Halo Bucks. And the way to get Halo Bucks is you buy them in packs. You buy them in a pack of 5. You
You should
buy
really call them chief checks.
We're calling them Chief Checks. You buy Chief Checks in a pack of 10, you buy Chief Checks in a pack of 20, or you buy Chief Checks in a pack of 50. They just released last week Chief Checks in a pack of 100. You'll notice none of those said 28. So what you're going to have to do to be the best economical way about it is to buy 10 Chief Checks and 20 Chief Checks with 200 left by. I mean, 2 Chief Checks left by. What are you going to do with those? They just sit on your account. You're going to have to do something. I hate that. I despise that. It's the Xbox Microsoft points all over again. I can't stand it. Let me give you the money, or don't put me in your bullshit cryptocurrency nonsense. Just let me have an exchange of hands and get your funny money out of here. That's it. That's me bitching about their archaic 2003 Microsoft transaction system. I despise that. We're better than this.
But are we though?
We are! That's why I'm complaining about it. Like in 2003, I'm like, oh yeah, buy Microsoft points. That's just how it works. Now
Right.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Ray, when we are done with the Halo conversation, let me tell you about how I was a sucker not that long ago. But anyway.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh, the only big ups, again, I don't mean to like go to the altar of Halo Infinite, but I can't express how much fun I'm having with this game. When it launched, it had 1 million concurrent players online because it's Halo, and of course it did, and the servers never crashed.
But
I wonder.
you know, I also kind of think of in some capacity, Halo in 2021 having 1 million concurrent players is also a little surprising, and I don't think it would have happened if you hadn't made the game free to play.
No, that's absolutely true. Yeah, you're
think,
absolutely right there.
I think I think going free to play for Halo multiplayer was possibly one of the best decisions that 343 and Microsoft could have made. Because
Yes.
the last 2 Halo games have not been super great. They don't hang heavy in the memories of people. The last real good Halo game was Halo 3. And that
Oh,
was,
whoa! I'm gonna back up and defend Reach real hard if you say that again.
okay, Reach, yes. Reach was Reach was good.
Damn straight. Possibly the best, I'll have you know. But go off, King.
But I just okay, we're talking, the last real Halo game that is in people's minds being over 10 years ago.
Yes.
And a whole generation of people who were raised basically without Halo and don't know the Halo lore. They didn't know Red versus Blue. They didn't know how Halo really changed the game and was combat evolved. Like, there's a huge part of the gaming audience right now who probably, if Halo Infinite especially Halo Infinite multiplayer only released, and you had to pay some form of money for it, were not going to touch it. But then they get it because it's free to play. It's on Xbox Game Pass. It's on whatever. It's, you download it, you play it, you hear your friends playing about it, blah blah blah, and are like, oh shit, this is really good. This is fun. This is great. I like the characters. I like the customization when I can actually do it. The guns are interesting. Like, it's different. I really think that the free-to-play aspect of Halo has kept it relevant in a way that it wouldn't have been able to on its own unless it released with the single-player campaign, and the single-player campaign just, blew everybody away.
It might. I don't know. It's
this is complete speculation on my part, but, just personally how I feel about, where Halo is in the, gaming mind and the, current gaming audience. I think it would have been much different had it released as a paid product.
Yeah, I agree with you. It would not. It probably might not have hit that 1 million concurrent spike. But again, I do want to know, a million concurrent players, and the servers never crashed on its first release week. This is a company. I want to give mad props to 343 for making that work, because
Yeah.
that's amazing. Like Battlefield 2042 can't say the same. They just can't. They they wish they could. All right,
And
that's
they had the same opportunity and the same, maybe not the same because they don't have Microsoft, but like they have similar resources to 343. They had the ability, the technical knowledge to do everything that 343 did, and they just didn't. They did not
Oh, I
execute.
want to also point out, you pay $60 for Battlefield 2042, up to $120 if you wanted that special 2-week access. Like, Halo Infinite is free, and the servers never went down. 2042, you're dropping cash money, and you're happy to get into a game. So, yeah, more of that. I want more of what Halo Infinite delivered into the gaming industry, because that is solid. That is peak. Uh, Okay, I wanted to. Sorry to jump into another topic. I wanted to talk about two different games I've been playing lately, if you don't mind, Josh.
No, not at all.
Uh, so I already told in the last podcast the story of how I had to go insane to go get a PS5. Basically, Mike sent me a bunch of Twitter accounts to follow. I followed them, and I'll be damned, one of them worked. Uh, it
Gotta get
worked.
those bots, man.
You got to beat the bots. I beat one of the bots. I got Ratchet and Clank a Rift Apart as like a free package deal. And Josh, I know you don't have a PS5 yet, but when you get one eventually, you need to play this game. This this is a next generation video game. This sets it apart from others in what it does with its in the way the game is created. It is It's one of the most one of the prettiest games I've ever seen. Two, it's running at 4K 60 frames per second, and there's a couple PS5 games that do that. Final Fantasy VII, the PS5 version does that, and it looks marvelous. But it started as
1440p, 120, but whatever. Just go on.
what's that? Which one?
I said I'd rather have 1440p at 120 FPS, but I'll take 4K 60. Go on.
4K 60 is great. I'll have you know. Okay, wait. I take
High
that back.
frame rate over fidelity every time.
Oh my gosh. Depends on the frame rate. Are we having this conversation? Are we doing this right
For
now?
those not watching the video feed, I am sipping my bourbon with my pinky up right now.
I'm gonna ignore your fucking comment and sip my bourbon. Now, the thing it's doing is that it's loading constant resources every time you do one of the rift grabs you might see in the trailer, and it's loading you to a completely different part of a level instantly. There's no load times. It just does it. As a matter of fact, the very few times the game loads is in between story segments and it's in between cutscenes, but you don't notice it. The game is seamless. It's fun. It's fluid. It is also, you don't have to play all the other like 8 or 9 Ratchet and Clank games to kind of get what's going on. You can just pick up what's going on, and it's
So
fun.
it's a Ratchet
tells
and
a
Clank
fun
game?
story. It is a Ratchet and Clank game.
I was gonna say I don't think you actually said what the game was yet up until this
No,
point.
I said it was Ratchet and Clank.
Oh,
Rift
I didn't. I
Apart.
think I missed that, but
Oh, okay. Yes. It's Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I highly advise anyone with a PS5 to drop the bones and play this game. It's easily on my list for Game of the Year. For the story it tells, for how easy it is. It's extremely accessible. You can actually just turn on a never die feature if you're just like, whatever, I just want to experience the story. And yeah, I turned that on for a couple seconds. I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, it does what's advertised. You could just go through and just have fun with it. It's not a difficult game, but
no. But I do think more games should have some feature like this, and I think I talked about this a little bit with Jedi: The Fallen Order, and the reason I'm not playing that game anymore is because of my own idiocy, not because of anything the game did. But like having that more casual mode available for a game that you may not play every day because you get busy and you forget about it, and you're like, I don't want to spend the time to learn how to do all these freaking timings again because I had a 2 or 3 week gap in my playing or whatnot, or I'm just like, I want to experience the story and I want to have fun playing the game, but I don't want to like sit here stressing about whatnot. Like, honestly, sometimes I think Mario, like, yes, the stakes are low, but like a Mario game could, like, why does Mario have to have health? Why couldn't he just, like, wow, okay, I'm gonna keep going again. Sorry, I should have said that in a Chris Pratt voice, but
No, please don't. Please don't. I don't want to get into
but
that. Please.
I do appreciate that feature a lot.
I think it's actually much needed for other games because I actually was about to hand the controller to my significant other and say like, "Do you want to play?" Because there's no risk. Just play, enjoy it, and tell me what you think about it. And it's not like she was gonna die. It's not like they even block off the barriers in never die mode, so you can't fall off of cliffs or whatnot. It's just like no, just enjoy the game, have fun, go through the story if that's what you want to do. And they don't do a thing where they like hide a secret ending behind you because you didn't beat the game, or you didn't beat the game at a certain level. You just no.
You know, another, like, I'm thinking about, like, all the games that this would be great for and, like, apply to, especially for a more casual audience. Like, you know, my wife watched me play Breath of the Wild and she loved it, and every so often she would take the controller and she'd do a puzzle or do a little combat sequence or whatnot, but, like, she's not a huge gamer. She hasn't played games
Right.
as long as I have. She doesn't understand the quick motions and whatnot, like, and she has mentioned multiple times she would love to go back and do her own playthrough of Breath of the Wild and, like, experience the whole thing herself and go through. But I think the hurdles of the pressure of being a inexperienced person and feeling that stress are barriers to that, and being able to, like, go to a game of Breath of the Wild and, like, look, I am here to experience the grandeur and the story and the puzzles of this game, and, like, the combat counters are cool, but, like, it's so high stress when I have to do the same thing over and over again because I die or whatnot. Like, a game like Breath of the Wild would very much benefit from a, like, yeah, you're just you don't have to die feature.
I'm okay. So here's where I split on the argument, since this is like a semi-yearly argument that everyone in the game industry at large always have, and I mean that both developers and consumers alike. I am perfectly okay if a developer says no, this game actually has to have some sort of punishment. Like the game coming out in a couple months, Elden Ring. I guarantee that game will not have an easy mode. It'll just say, here's Elden Ring. You push start or you push options. I will be ecstatic if Elden Ring lets me remap my buttons. Because there's a lot of FromSoft games where they're like, no, this is the control
This
scheme.
is it. Ray,
And
Ray, I hate to break it to you, you're not remapping those controls.
So they let you remap the controls in Sekiro, so I have hope. They did not let you remap the controls in Bloodborne, and I hope that is the last video game where they're like, no more control remapping. Because, yeah, okay, FromSoft, I get where you guys are going with. I get the heuristics of what you're trying to do with the controller. Fuck off. Let me remap my buttons. You already make it one of the harder video games in video game history. Just let me remap my buttons. Give me that much dignity.
It should be illegal to not remap buttons in any game.
You know what game that just came out doesn't let you remap buttons, and that actually took me by surprise?
What?
Metroid Dread.
Oh.
It does not let you remap buttons, and there's a gameplay reason why it doesn't. I'm not going to spoil it here, but it does not let you remap buttons at all. You can't. So
I never try. I didn't try because I was pretty pleased. We'll get into this later, but I was pretty pleased with, like, the default layout. But yeah, did not know that. You know what game would have been? You know what game would have been infinitely better if you could remap buttons? Metroid: Samus Returns.
Oh man, I still
That
have
game-
my copy of that game over there. Yeah.
I have it somewhere. I didn't finish it.
You didn't finish it? It's one of the few Metroid games I 100% it. That's a very small list, but
Yeah.
that game I 100% it.
I wanted to. I could not get over my hatred of the movement and the like. I just couldn't do it. I even replaced the stick on that 3DS because it broke. And, because for those of you who don't know, I got this 3DS secondhand from somebody who played a fuck ton of Smash on it and absolutely
that person was me.
and absolutely knackered that stick. It was a nightmare, and this thing disintegrated in my hands. It just fell apart. It was awful. And I replayed.
That is over 400 hours of Smash for 3DS on that stick. Oh no.
That stick, it's awful. And yeah, again, it literally disintegrated in my hands. And I performed surgery, and I replaced it, and the surgery went great. The stick worked fantastic. Love playing, Zelda: A Link Between Worlds, but God, I hate the movement in Samus Returns and being unable to map anything differently. I couldn't do it.
I think the last Metroid game to actually let you remap controls was actually Super Metroid. All the other ones don't let you remap controls, now that I think about it. Isn't that wild?
Yeah. Wait, no.
Yeah, think about it.
Prime?
Yes, Prime doesn't let you remap controls. Josh just went on a trip.
Wait a minute.
Oh no!
Which
I
also would say that Super Metroid is the only Metroid game to let you remap controls, because original Metroid you couldn't do it. Nope. Metroid 2 on the Game Boy you couldn't do it. No. Super Metroid cannot be the only remappable. Okay.
I actually sat here and thought about the entire series because I played every Metroid game. Got the amiibos to prove it, that I'm that much of a weird Metroid fan. But yeah, I think it's the only one.
Okay. I'm breaking out the Game Boy emulator tonight, and I'm looking at Zero Mission and Fusion, because maybe they didn't go. Oh my God, maybe they didn't.
I just beat Fusion and Zero Mission back to back last month, and no, they don't.
Okay, well, I'm getting out Dolphin, and also I'm gonna fire up Metroid Prime and see what's up.
Why? No, really, why would they in Metroid Prime let you remap controls?
No, because you couldn't have done it in Metroid Prime, because some of that stuff was pressure sensitive, so you had to have some of that stuff triggers on the specific triggers. Oh my God. Okay,
of course you would want the fire button on the A button.
What about Prime 3 with the Wii? No?
I mean, let's be honest. No. There's nothing accessible about Prime 3, especially for button remapping. Why? What button remapping? That is the least one!
But Ray, I want to swap the A and the B button.
That actually might be kind of cool for people interested in it, but no. Yeah, I think Super Metroid is it. And that's why Super Metroid is the best Metroid
It's the best.
game.
I
mean, they respect it. It's the only Metroid game to respect your autonomy.
And just off the top, I think I always swap the run and the shoot button. I think I've always swapped the default.
Yeah, I always did that too, because I think the shoot button is not on Y. I think it's on B or something stupid like that.
Yeah. And I'm always like, okay, I want like, because you're always running, so you want to have that like right there at the heel of your thumb, and then you like, yeah. But that's beside the point.
Yeah, I think the run button is initially Y.
Yeah, you have to like reach up for it or something. Like, it's bad.
And the jump button is A. Oh yeah. I always remap that. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And
this conversation is blowing my mind right now. I can't.
Josh's favorite series, where he said all those games should be executed. He's just realizing he executed the entire Metroid franchise, except for Super Metroid. The entire thing. You actually just lost the ability to shit on Dark Souls.
Yeah, I did. You know what? I accept that. I will forget it and I will shit on it again at some point, but you have to remind me of this moment, because I did. I owned myself, and I am turning into a potato right now. Like, oh my God.
I can do a corn cob. I'm not owned. Man, oh man, that is a trip we
I'm really
just went
glad that
on.
Mike's not here right now because Mike would dunk on me.
This is he'll hear it later, and this is a thorough don't. Wow, that actually like makes me think about like control heuristics in like a certain way, because I never ever thought of remapping the controls in Metroid Zero Mission, because one, there's only 4 buttons, there's only so much you're
Yeah.
gonna be able to do, and same thing for Fusion, and two, I I never thought that would be an option, but now that I'm thinking about it, when I first tried Dread, I'm like, oh, I actually don't like the, I forgot what button it was. I was like, oh, I actually don't like that there. And they didn't give me the option to change it. I was like, oh shit, it's 2021. I wasn't prepared for this. Okay, you guys have decided this is with the controls, but I'm not giving it away. Maybe enough people have played Dread, but this isn't the Dread conversation. We need to have our own
Yes,
special podcast for
now
that.
that I've like finished the move and I'm in place, we need to have our Metroid Dread spoiler cast and like actually
Yes.
dive into that. But while we're on the topic of Metroid Dread, one, fucking phenomenal video game. I have
Yeah.
a lot more to say about that later. But two, that does get me into the how I was massive sucker just a few weeks ago. So,
Okay, yes. You wanted to bring this up post Halo talk, but
yes.
we're way past that. Go for it.
So I did not pre-order Dread at all because I missed the window for getting the special edition and the amiibos and anything like that. Like, obviously those pre-orders were gone within 0.2 seconds of everything going live, and like even me being trying to get it did not happen. So I was like, okay, I have no doubt that the day of I can walk into a store and buy the game or download it. That is not a problem. I'm not worried about that. So I'm not going to pre-order the actual game. So my plan was to go to a GameStop because the job that I have, I'm driving around a lot. I'm always by a GameStop. So I was like, okay, I'm going to stop at one of the GameStops in my area. I'm going to be one of the first people there, more than likely. Now, I forgot that game was also releasing on the day of some Pokemon anniversary stuff and the Switch OLED, so there were actually more people there than I thought. And the gal at the GameStop was like, okay, what are you here for? And it was like, okay, if you're here for the Switch, you get this. If you're here for Metroid, you get this. If you're here for Pokemon, you get this. And if you're here for all three, you get this. Whatever. So, I go to GameStop for the first time in like 5 years. And I get in line. I'm the second person in line. I'm the first person there for Metroid. The person in front of me was there for a Switch OLED and a Switch OLED only. Which, upon retrospect, I should have just bought a Switch OLED too, but that's a different conversation. So, they buy their Switch OLED. I go up. I'm like, okay, hey, do you have any of the special editions? They're like, no. I was like, do you have any of the amiibos? And they said, yes. Fantastic. Give me Metroid Dread, give me the amiibos. They're like, do you want to reactivate your GameStop Pro subscription? I was like, absolutely not.
Okay.
And then they're like, well, hear me out. You can get a $5 credit in store every month for the year of your subscription. And she's like, I have some people who they just come in on the first of every month, use their subscription to buy a game card for like Microsoft points, and then they've made out like basically the entire subscription over the course of the year. I'm like, I have to pay.
I already know where this is going.
I pay Microsoft about $16 every month. I can come in and request a gift card for the exact amount that I charge them. Or I'm charged every month? Yeah, absolutely. You can get a special gift card that is just a code that is for the exact amount you choose, and we'll just take $5 off of that. I'm like, huh. Okay. And I'm around GameStops all the time. They're like, yeah. So
this is massive, big, like Midwest energy. This sort of
so you're looking at a GameStop Pro subscriber here, Ray. Yeah, buddy. And November 1st, I went into a GameStop and I said, I need a gift card to Microsoft for $16.89. And they're like, sure, sir. That will be $11.89. I said, fantastic. They gave me the code on the receipt. I entered the code, put that on my Microsoft account. December 1st, I went back in. I said, I need a gift card for $16.89. They're like, sure, that'll be $11.89. I'm a massive sucker, but it worked.
So you're paying $11.89 so that you could save $5 on your Microsoft subscription, which is already $15. Josh, I know you're better at math than this.
Basically, net, it comes out even. And
No,
if
it actually doesn't.
But I get points, and those points might get me a used game every year or two.
Oh my God! That's why you have Game Pass. Cause who cares? No.
But every once in a while, I might want to buy a game for the PS4 or something for the Switch, and those aren't on Game Pass.
No. This is I know what your job is, and I know your job like consists of upselling. But once you do the math for what you're doing, you're like, wait a minute, I'm actually not coming out ahead. What if I just buy more games?
That's the worst part is I know better. I know better. Ray, I know better. But you know what? Sometimes game respect game, and you know I like the hustle, and she said it in a way, and I was just like, you know what? That makes sense. Let's go. Let's do it.
I am just imagining this 21-year-old part-time college student pulling one off on someone that does your job, which I won't say, but pulling one off on you.
I was in there in a whole fucking suit, a whole ass suit, tie,
you're like,
everything.
Hold on a sec, wait a minute. You're spitting some language here, and you walk away with a game. Stop,
Hey, don't forget, I also now have the access to the electronic version of whatever Game Informer or whatever.
Me and you both know you're never going to read that.
Nope, never.
Ever.
I barely read it when it came to my house every month, let alone now.
Oh, you're like, oh, there's more recycling, I guess. Okay.
I knew you would get it. I knew you would get a kick out of that story. It's
because I'm doing the math in my head, and you're just paying more money per month. You're paying
because GameStop, the pro subscription is $60 for a year.
Okay.
$5 times 12 is $60. So basically, I come out even with the opportunity to put me in a GameStop once a month to get upsold on something else because I'm a sucker. And if I see something cool, I'm going to pick it up and buy it. So GameStop wins, and I lose, Ray.
You're in a consistent loss cycle. You signed up to be in a consistent loss cycle. You're paying them to be in that loss cycle.
I will say, my self-control is better than it used to be. But at some point, I'm going to be on this podcast, and you're going to ask me, Josh, did you go to your GameStop this month? And I'm going to be like, Ray, yes, I did. And you're going to be like, did you buy something stupid when you're there? And most of the time, I'm going to say no. But one time, I'll be like, and you're going to do that laugh. You're going to be like, I knew it.
It'll be February. It'll just happen February. I promise you. It's not going to take long. Stop acting like it'll be one day long from now. No, it's going to be like 3 months from now, maximum. And it'll be something dumb. It'll be like the Tom Nook amiibo. For some reason.
But my wife needed she needed a Valentine's Day present, and she loves...
That's exactly what it'll be. That I can see it right now. It'll be like a golden Isabel. GameStop's like, listen, we put this off to the side for you. Golden Isabel. $20, that's yours. You walk out the door. And you're like, fucking what? Your Jackson's already on the table? You ring that shit up?
Josh, listen, I know you're 32 years old, and you never, ever encounter anybody who actively plays Pokemon cards anymore. You haven't in a decade or more. But what if, hear me out, you got a starter deck and you got back into Pokemon cards. Here, just check it. Just check it out. Just take it. Just try it. Oh,
I promise
swipe.
you, if Nintendo did a thing where they said we're bringing back Pokemon cards, but we're doing it extra. Every card has a code, so every physical card gets digitized into the Switch version of Pokemon cards. Josh is
Heartbeat,
in.
heartbeat, heartbeat, heartbeat. Would sign right up.
There it is. $50 a month, every single month from the Josh family.
100%. 100%. And I would buy booster packs on top of that subscription. 1,000.
Oh, the revenue is on lock.
Okay,
As a matter of
now,
fact, Nintendo, that one's for free. There you go.
yeah. Also, now I'm like, I should go get the Pokemon trading card game on my emulator and play that.
I was actually talking about the old Game Boy Advance one. I mean, Game Boy Color one the other day. This segues into a game I did want to talk about. Sorry, the dogs are barking. So Mike mentioned last podcast about a game called Inscription, and a couple of the devs I work with at work mentioned that game as well. They said that it was one of the more innovative card games, and indie created games. They called it the next indie darling. So, a couple days ago, I downloaded it. I started playing it, and yeah, that game goes places. Yeah, I don't know if it's your style of game, Josh, but if you like indie games that are weird and spooky, highly, highly advise it. And much like Mike said last time, there's so much about it I want to talk about, but to even talk about it beyond the title and mentioning that it's a card game starts giving up the game, and I don't want to do that for you. You should definitely, if you got like the extra time, I'm where am I? I'm 80% through the game right now. Um don't ask me how I know that. There are certain little things in the game it does that lets you know that. Um but I would highly advise anyone that's interested in a indie game that does something very different, and it's a card-based deck building game. If that sounds, and it's a horror game. I'm gonna put that right out there. It's got some horror elements. It's spooky.
What's it on?
It's on Steam and
Hmm.
only on Steam. As far as I know, I haven't seen it on anything else. But I would highly advise you try it.
We can talk. I think with my new computer, I think I need to reauthorize family share, but I might at least try it out and see what I think before I like commit to it. But I'm
It is
I'm
definitely a game.
intrigued at the least.
It is definitely a game that once you start playing it and you get to certain sections of the game, it is to your benefit of the story that you see it through to the end. Yeah, that's all I can really say. I will say it is definitely on my list once I finish it, as long as it ends well. And Mike says it ends well, but if it ends well and I agree with it, it's definitely on my list for game of the year. 100% on that list. You got to have an indie game on there sometimes, and I think this is it. That's it. That's all the games I want to talk about today. We could talk about Call of Duty Vanguard and their weird nonsense, but actually, you know what? We would be at a disservice. I know we're at a little bit over an hour. I do want to talk about Activision a little bit. Um, we have to. I feel we are doing a disservice. Just today, as of the recording of this podcast, it's December 4th. Activision has announced that they are going to be laying off. I do believe it's half to one third of the QA team in Ravensoft, in Madison, Wisconsin, and they are laying off this QA team effective January 28th. So they gave them past the holidays. Yay!
Woo!
I
You'll
mean, it's
have a
pretty.
job for Christmas.
I mean, they're giving them also the option, like, yeah, we know this is devastating news. If you want to just not work for us anymore and collect checks to January 28th, you're allowed to do that. Which, yeah, go off, Kings. I would absolutely do that. This is they haven't announced why they're axing the QA department. It's not like Activision is not without a need for a QA team, but It's news that's shocking them. I guess they're going over to a different contract with a different provider for QA services. But there were people hired into Ravensoft for QA as little as 2 weeks ago, and they moved cross country because this is their first job in the gaming industry. And they're moving to Madison, Wisconsin, so it's not like there's a bunch of other game opportunities out there. There isn't. There's a small handful of studios there, but it's not like the Bay Area or New York City or something like that. And they're like, "Oh, wait, you just hired me." And there are some people that are just like, come a month and a half from now, they're kind of ass out. So that sucks. That's nothing good. And all of this is on top of the fact that you know Bobby Kotick is now under even deeper investigation because what who is it? I do believe it's some other industry or some other organization that's a State Department is now saying, oh, it's the SEC again. The SEC has come out and said like we're very disturbed that Activision has done actually nothing about the very real and legitimate complaints being levied against their CEO and company. Like the CEO is still Bobby Kotick is still there. They haven't made any real tangible changes to the company, uh, and they basically like made it very clear they're not going to
Yeah, they're
anytime
not.
soon.
They haven't done anything, and they're not going to do anything.
They're very much. Oh, and the board voted to defend Bobby Kotick. They didn't vote to get rid of him, so the board of shareholders just like, yeah, cool. Not the entire board, but the people that voted against him lost. So, ugh. It's a weird place to be in if you work for Activision Blizzard right now. If you want to do something, follow the at ABK on Twitter, the Activision Blizzard King. Um, what is the name of that group? It is a group of people. They're not forming an actual union, but they're trying to push for better workers' rights on Twitter. Follow that group. They need your support. They need your financial support. They need your solidarity, because we do love games, and something needs to give, right? Something needs to be said in the industry. Like what
Yeah,
is going on here is not okay.
no, and the question remains to it is Activision Blizzard the worst example, or just like the biggest, the one that is going to get the most, like, when is the levee going to break and we have the moment where we find out that this is a even more widespread issue than, it's not just Bobby Kotick and Blizzard and whatnot. Like, where else are pockets like this where we are defending, people who have been around for a long time,
I mean, there's the entirety of Ubisoft, that whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Then there's actually, those are the two big ones, Ubisoft and Activision. um, this happened for a couple days. This is Activision related. Geoff Keighley was actually saying that he was taking no sides in the video game awards show. When it came to the Activision controversy, there's no controversy. They're guilty
No,
as hell.
that's not. That's who I hate that word. That's not.
Whew, whew, whew. Controversy means that there's an argument to be had. No, they're being sued by the state of California because they
Yeah,
actually violated the law.
yeah. There's just being sexual harassers and labor abusers. Like, that's just what it is. Like,
Yeah.
they
And
abuse labor and they sexually harass people for years.
Geoff Keighley says, well, we're not taking a side at the Video Game Awards, so we don't want to get involved. And it's like, the president of Activision is on the board of the Video Game Awards. You don't think that's a little, that's kind of spoiling the pot a little bit, just a tiny bit. And finally, Geoff Keighley, after a huge backlash of everyone adding him on Twitter, which, by the way, good, that's what needs to
Oh
be done.
yes. Oh, always do that. Always do that.
Always. Never stop. It is okay to do that. He backed off and said, like, okay, we won't present any Activision like promotions at the awards for any games that are there that are like part of the award show. Like if there's a game that's about to win an award, we'll present that, but we won't do any of their promo stuff. Which is like that is such a weaselly half step. It's something, but it's also like it's not enough. This is the same man that came out full throated and condemned Konami because Hideo Kojima was not invited to the Game Awards show because under Konami's contract, they said if we say you can't attend, you can't attend, and so you can't attend. So he takes time out of his show to call out Konami for that. But here's actual people going through actual abuse, like, you know, trigger warning. Someone committed suicide at Activision Blizzard because of the sort of sexual abuse that they were going through. That doesn't work. That isn't warranting a full-throated reprimand of the entirety of the culture of the company. Like, my dude, it's not enough. You have to do more. That's what it comes down to. Thank you, Dorito Pope, for once again showing that you're more involved with the money than you are with the struggle. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The Shift Hydrobot once again proves where his loyalties lie. Anyways, on that somber note, Josh, you got any games you want to talk about before we wrap up here?
Um, not Halo and Battlefield 2042 have been the big ones that I've played recently, just with the move and everything. I have not played a ton. I did play Metroid Dread during my moving period. I started the game when it launched. I don't think I've been on a podcast since it came out, so I don't think I've gotten a chance to talk
No,
about
all three of us are going to do that.
Yeah, so I will save all of my opinions and whatnot for that, since that podcast is overdue, and now that I'm settled and in and have everything set up, we can make that happen. But just generally speaking, big thumbs up to Metroid Dread. And
spoiler alert, it's very good.
It's very, very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, those have been the three main games that I have played in the time since I've been on the podcast last. My wife and I are getting ready to start the new Dark Pictures game. I've heard very good things about that one. So that will be probably something that I'm talking about here in the next few weeks. Now that we are set up, got the PS4 out again, we've got the game, we've got time, so we'll see. And then my wife has gotten back into Animal Crossing, especially with all the new updates that have come. And
so you don't have a Switch anymore, basically, is what you're saying.
No, yeah. Thankfully, that came out after I was done with Metroid Dread, because that would have been a problem. I also do have to conduct surgery on my Switch because, this will be for another podcast. I have some opinions on games made for children and that are based on movie franchises, because my daughter got for her birthday the Paw Patrol video game based on the new movie, and boy, our kids deserve better? Question mark. But I'll get.
I want to point this out, and I know we'll get to this in another podcast, but like when me and you were growing up, we didn't necessarily have games for kids. It's like, can you beat Mega Man? No, man, you're gonna have to learn.
Sucks to be you, kid. Hey, 7-year-old Josh plays Super Metroid. How? That's your problem, buddy.
I do want to get this out. I was going to save this for the Dread podcast, but the only reason I played Super Metroid is because I played your Super Nintendo cart of Super Metroid.
Yep.
And it wasn't until 2016 that I actually got the Game Boy, not the Game Boy, the Nintendo 3DS version, the emulated version of Virtual Console, and I finally beat Ridley. Because I could not beat Ridley when I was a kid. I sucked.
You basically have to just have as many missiles as you can and as many energy tanks as you can. That's basically the recipe to that, because otherwise you're just trying to dodge and whatnot, and it's just not like that. That
He
is
doesn't telegraph his moves. It's just a slobber knocker.
no, yeah, that is a battle of attrition, and who can get whose HP down quickest. Like,
Yeah.
if you go into that fight like, oh, I'm gonna duck, dive, dip, duck, and dodge. No, it ain't
No.
happening.
No.
That's beside the
No.
point. I have anyway. Daughter has a video game. I have some problems with it, but I haven't played it in a while because they were playing Mario Kart while we were in our little interim situation, and maybe one of the Joy-Cons got chucked across the room, and the joystick does not work properly anymore. So,
Left or right?
right.
You bought the pieces.
So I already replaced the left Joy-Con because we had Joy-Con drift, but the kit that I bought came with two joystick modules. So when she chucked it across the room and it kind of broke, I was like, oh, well, I just have an extra module that I can just chuck into there and work. Thankfully, Metroid Dread doesn't really take a lot of advantage of the right joystick, so I was able to play the game without having to worry about the damage that she had caused my Joy-Con. But
Quick question.
yes,
You play Metroid Dread in handheld mode?
yes.
You're a brave man. I used a Pro Controller, and I can't imagine playing it any other way. I just can't.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on that as well. Part of the reason why that's also part of the reason why I thought that I should have picked up the OLED when I was there.
Oh, okay. All right.
But again,
We'll save that for the Dread Pod.
we'll get in there. You know where you can get all the updates on all the things that we talked about and teased just now?
Where can you get them, Josh?
Unscriptedgaming.com. That is where you can find links to everywhere we are on the internet. You can find links to our social medias, which we are on Facebook at Unscripted Game Podcast, our Twitter at unscript_gaming. You can get our SoundCloud feed, which is soundcloud.com/unscripted-gaming. You can also find links to all of the podcatchers we on: Apple, Google, Stitcher, Spotify, Pocket Cast, everywhere. You can get us in your eyes, your ears, always. Thank you for watching and listening to Unscripted Gaming. My name is Josh.
My name is Ray.
Peace.